Hello, friends. Jared here with a special video. The battle forces for 2025 for Warhammer were just announced this Monday, and it looks like we've got some fun stuff coming this Christmas. So I figured I'd break from my normal project videos and do a video about what my expectations for these boxes are. There's lots of videos I'm sure going to come out that will tell you what's in the box, what the models are worth, what the discount is, what the points are, how to build and expand. There's lots of great channels that cover that. But my focus and the focus of my channel is in terms of finding discounts, finding ways to save, finding ways to build armies. And so I want to take these boxes from a little bit different angle and ask the question, which of these boxes is going to stick around for a little while? What's going to fly off the shelves right away and you're never going to see it unless you pre-order it? What are you going to still be able to find in 2-3 months into next year? What could be something that's a project? Now, gotta say, this is all hot takes. I could be totally wrong on all of these, but it's all in good fun. But having watched these things for a couple years now, seen what I find on eBay, I have 3 or 4 different local stores I like to visit, and I've seen what sits on the shelf and what flies off the shelf and what lists on eBay for $30 under discount price and what triples in price immediately. And so, based on what I've seen in past years for these boxes, both the 40K and the Age of Sigmar, I want to take a guess at how are these boxes going to actually do in terms of availability. So this is mainly a focus on long-term availability of are you going to be able to find this, because there's been several boxes that have stuck around for well over a year from past years. They were pretty reliable to find for a while until they finally disappeared off of eBay, off of Facebook, off of your Discord groups, wherever you're looking for miniatures. And so I want to take a stab at it. And one of the things that I found is if you're on the secondary market a lot, there's always going to be somebody who bought the FOMO box and then sells it 6 months, a year later, and doesn't try to price gouge it and sells it at a fair price. They come around, and so if you're really patient and really sharp, every so often you'll find a deal. So even if a box does sell out within an hour or so, there's a chance you're going to get it 1 month, a year later, and you never know. So it's always possible. So keep a lookout. But certain boxes tend to not really be on the secondary market, or at least not for very long before they immediately get bought out. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through this year's boxes. But I want to give you my hot takes on what I think is going to sit and what I think is going to disappear immediately. So my ranking system is pretty simple. Some stuff's going to sell out immediately. We know that. Some stuff's going to last a couple of weeks, but it's going to be gone by Christmas, so it'll last about a month. They'll come out in November. They'll be available in November. They're gone by December. Some of them will last till the end of the year. You'll see them on a January sale. I know some FLG stores, your friendly local gaming stores, will have an end of the year sale. Maybe you get extra points if you buy on that sale, or they have some kind of special. Those kind of sales come around, and maybe you can pick it up on there. I know there's certain websites will have the point system, and you get bonus points during the January sale because they're trying to get that one extra little sale to start the month, start the year off, or get rid of last year's lot. So this is the stuff that will make it to a sale. And then the next category is the eBay bargain bin. Uh, there's always been a box that sits at $180. It's 50, $60 cheaper. The Agents of the Imperium boxes are a great example of this. They weren't necessarily Christmas boxes, but those did not sell. I can go to my friendly local game stores. I can find Agents of the Imperium. I can go on eBay. I can find Agents of the Imperium. Those boxes were not popular. They didn't sell, and they've only lost value. So we want to watch out for those. Granted, if you want to start those armies, that's amazing because then you don't have to rush to start them. And then the last category is the total wild card. There's 1 or 2 of these armies that I don't know very well, and I don't feel comfortable predicting. It could fly off the shelves, or it could still be there a year later. I actually have no clue, and so I don't want to just make wild predictions. I want to try to at least take an educated guess. Try not to have too many wild cards, because if I called them all wild cards, there'd be no point in watching this video. So I think I only have 1 or 2 wild cards on this list, but the goal is to try to call it. And I'm sure I'll get a couple of them wrong, but I expect they'll get a few of them right. So let's start with the 40K boxes because I know people love their 40K boxes. First one's the Blissbound warband. This is the Fulgrim box. You got a brand new character. You got all new sculpts. Now, if you already owned Fulgrim, it's not a good deal, but let's be real here. That's going to sell out immediately. It's got a Demon Primarch in it. We've seen a couple of these in previous boxes. I never see the Angron box, the Mortarion box, the other boxes on eBay when I'm looking around at Battleforces. They just don't show up on the secondary market. This box will sell fast. If you want it, pre-order it, get it quick. It's not going to be around by 2026. That's going to go fast. Next box, the Cthonian Prospect. Lots of models in this one. We got a lot of newer kits, so that's a good draw. If you're interested in Volton, this looks pretty promising. But I do notice that none of the Volton tanks are in there, and those are notoriously overpriced. And so if it had that big tank, which is funny because it's not really very big in real life. If you actually look at the model, it's fairly small, but it's their, air quotes, big tank. So I've heard some people complain about Volton for that reason. But they did get this range refresh, but I don't know how popular it really is. So my big question, and this is why I ranked it a wild card, I don't know how popular Volton actually is. I could see this one being really popular or nobody touching it. But I feel like you get this, you get a combat patrol, you got a pretty good army box. The other thing that this could partner well with would be the Hachette magazine. I would love to pick this box up and put it with the Hachette magazine. This would be a good buy for me. If this winds up going to the eBay bargain bin, I might actually see myself buying this in 6 months, but that's only if it's at below $200 USD and it's still actually available. If that's the case and I have the money, I could see myself picking this up when I start getting those magazine issues, but those magazine issues aren't until the middle of next year, I don't think. So, wild card on this one. Next up is the Tyranids. Tyranids are popular. I know that for a fact. But also, as somebody who watches the secondary markets, I can tell you a lot of people abandoned Tyranids. Tyranids was a very abandoned faction. There are so many listings for large lots of Tyranids. People went out and bought 70 models, painted 3 of them, and went, oh, snap, what did I do? And then they sell the whole thing. I see a lot of secondary market Tyranids. Now, other interesting thing here, this is a big kit. There's only really 5 units, and then you got the 2 tokens, but I'm not going to count that. It's 5 units. It's a 5 model kit. They're big models. They're cool models. They're expensive models. But if you have Leviathan, you have 2 out of 5, and that really cuts the discount. And let's say you bought any of the other 3. 3 out of 5 is a bad time because now you're getting duplicates. And do you really want that many big monsters in your army? Maybe you do. If that's how you want to play this army, maybe you pick it up. But I can't see everybody rushing out to grab this one, especially if some of the other kits are next to it. And then you got, if this kit's sitting next to Fulgrim, I have a hard time seeing people grabbing this over something like the Fulgrim kit. So I'm going to call this one as end of year sale. I think it will sell out decently fast, kind of like how the Knights box went, but the Knights went really fast. The big Knights. This is big models again. Big models are really flashy, really cool. They do sell really well. But because 2 of them are Leviathan box, I don't think it'll sell as fast. But I don't expect to see this box available in 2026. I think it's going to go pretty fast. Next up is the Farsight cadre. Here's the Tau. Now, I'm currently painting Tau, so Tau is definitely very interesting to me. This is a very elite box. You got that nice broadside. Is it a Riptide, I think? And then you got the Crisis suits, and then Commander Farsight. It's got a named character that's not a Primarch. Those boxes tend to not do as well, unfortunately. Now, if you're a Primarch, you can be a named character in the box and still get bought pretty quick. But I find non-Primarchs don't do as well as Primarchs. Sorry, Xenos players. I'm right there with you as a fellow Xenos player, too. But I feel like most Tau players, if they want Farsight, they have Farsight. So that's already one thing they don't want. They probably already have Crisis suits. Probably already have a broadside. And this box, I don't see most long-term Tau players wanting to pick this up because it's not any value to them. But if you wanted to start Tau, this might be a good place to start. I'm not expecting this one to do as well. This one I'm marking as end of the year sale. It's got more drones than models, but maybe that's just a Tau thing. But I can't see this box being that exciting. Now, I don't see it lasting forever because it is some nicer kits. It's a good starting thing. You put this with a starter box, that nice combat patrol, and it's a good Tau army. But I don't think it's gonna sell out immediately. I can't see this one selling out immediately. Then we come to the Iron Halo Strike Force. This is Space Marines. And not just any Space Marines. We got double dreadnoughts. We've got some cool elite stuff. We've got some nice, was it Hell Blasters or whatever. There's some cool stuff in this box. It's a decent number of infantry, and it's not assault marines or jump pack marines. It's actual elite units that would be a cool starter to an army. And notice that it's not chapter specific. Pick any chapter Space Marines, look at this box and go, yeah, I could use this to start Raven Guard, Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, Ultramarines, whatever it is. Pick any faction. This box fits right into it. So yeah, this is going to be the box for every Space Marine player. I think it's pretty easy to call this. This is going to sell out. This one's going to go really fast. It's got double dreads. It's got the right units to start any chapter to buff up a chapter because it doesn't overlap with anybody's starter box pretty much. Like everybody can use at least all but one of those models. So this is going to go fast. We know this is going to go fast. So that's a pity because I would love to pick this box up. I'm not going to see this box next year. This box will definitely be gone immediately. Like especially if you remember, I want to say it was last year's Battleforce for Space Marines had lots of jump pack assault intercessors that nobody was excited about, and then it had the little buggy and the maybe some outriders or something that no one really wanted. That sat for a while. This one will not sit. Next up is the Hellforged warband. Good selection of model, a lot of plastic in there, but it's old plastic. There's a lot of older kits in here. Generally, if you want these kits, you already have these kits. Still cool. From what I've read, they're all decently discounted. I like a lot of these kits, but I don't know. If this is next to Fulgrim, are you picking up the new Primarch and the brand new kits that go with it? The Noise Marines, or are you looking at this and going, "Oh yes, I want the old sculpts and the giant spider creature and another Chaos Rhino"? I don't know. I have a hard time seeing that one selling out immediately. So I'm going to say this is probably making it to the end of the year as well. Again, these are still discount boxes. There's still good ways to start an army. I don't think these are sitting into next year, but I don't think they're selling out right away. Krieger next. Krieg, newer refresh, newer kits this year. Lots of miniatures. This one actually looks like an army, which I really like. But from what I've read, this is a very low points box, and that's pretty awful. And there's no tanks. And if last year's Christmas rush taught me anything, it's that Astra Militarum players love their tanks. And so to have a box with no tanks for the Astra Militarum, even though it's Krieg, I think that's going to ding it a little bit that there's not a single tank in here. You got the 2 artillery pieces, and they're beautiful. I would paint those in a second. But low points hurts, no tanks hurts, and I did read somewhere online somebody was saying at least there's no cavalry because there's been cavalry in just about every Astra Militarum box, but it's a focus box. I like that, but I don't see this one selling out immediately either. I think this box will hang around for a little bit and then go, but I don't know. Also, since you have the 2 artillery pieces, I have a hard time seeing anybody wanting to buy doubles of this. Because as much as you'd want to get all of those guys, man, you'd have to do a lot of kit bashing to try to turn it into something else. And there's not a lot of dual kits in here either. But I don't know. It doesn't have the ability to get multiple kits. It's low points. I'm going to say it's definitely there at the end of the sale. It's on the clearance rack in January or the New Year's sale for your local game store. I could see this one still having a box if it's not as popular in your area. Maybe Astra Militarum players are starved and they really want it, but I don't know. I don't see it being the big one. Now we move to Age of Sigmar. There's only 4 boxes for our poor Age of Sigmar friends, and I count myself among them. If you saw my earlier videos, you know I painted 4,000 points of Skaven this year, so I'm pretty Skavened out, and I'm sure that biases me here. But there's a lot of rats in this box, and Thankfully, only the one Rattling gun from the Skaventide box. So, and the Jezzails, I guess that's also Skaventide box. But there's some cool stuff in here that you wouldn't otherwise have. You have your weapon platforms, the Globadiers, the Storm Vermin. There's some cool miniatures in this kit, but and it does go better with somebody who've already bought, the Skaventide box or a starter box. It goes well with those boxes better than the Tyranids went with a Leviathan box, but it's a lot of elite rats and it's a lot of rats to paint. And if you've got Skaven and you've already been collecting for over a year now, is this the kits you really want? Because you have to want all of these kits for it to actually be a discount. And that's gonna be a little bit tricky. The other thing is there's no I spelled it wrong. There's no big model. There's no Vermin Lord, no Plague Bell, no Hell Pit Abomination. There's no big model. It's all elite short guys. There's no big stuff. So I think that's a ding against it too. I can see this as another. It's not going to sell out, but you'll still see it at the end of the month. But it's gonna make it to the end of the year in a few places, and you'll see it on eBay through January, and then it'll peter out at the beginning of next year. Next up, Lances of the Crimson Keep. There's the new dragon. This is a smaller army here, but 2 sets of the new knights, and they're beautiful. The new zombie dragon is beautiful, and then 3 bats for some reason, which is the silliest thing. Bats feels like a weird addition. It would have been better to have some skeletons or some foot troops in here. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like an army to me. It's some really cool elite stuff that you would add to a starter box. That's what this one is. But I don't know. I like this one, and I will notice the dragon does have a generic variant, so you could buy 2 of this box if you really wanted to and try to make an army. But I think this is going to probably be one of the better sellers in terms of what looks cool as a Christmas present. Giant zombie dragon, double squad of knights. You can't go wrong with that. I think of the Age of Sigmar stuff, this is one of the strongest players, just because what a good painting project it is, and it's new enough. It's got to have decent rules. You put it with the spearhead box. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, and people like vampires. Next up, it is our friends, the Dankhold Rampage. We've got, again, it's all trolls. I like the focus. It's a generous amount of sculpts. We got a bunch of trolls in there. And if you know these kits, there's kit bashing potential to build even more trolls. I feel like I might have done a video on that or mentioned it in a kit bashing video before. The regular trolls, if you get some extra bodies, there's doubles of everything else. Double heads, double arms, double legs. You could get a handful of extra bodies and you could double the amount of trolls practically. And then you got those really old trolls in there too, which is weird. And I feel like if you have the name character, you don't really want another name character, and it ruins the value on this box. So hardcore troll fans already have the big guy whose name escapes me, and casual guys maybe not as much. But if you've wanted to do trolls and you don't have trolls, it's a great way in. Still a little weird how old some of the sculpts are. You got to name characters, so you're not buying 2 of this box, but still. Trolls are popular, but that's a double-edged sword, because I feel like if you have the model, you already have the model. And I don't know. It is a cool box though, and you're getting a lot of plastic, so I got to give it some credit there. This was almost a wild card for me, but I'm going to go ahead and just say end of the month. I feel like since Age of Sigmar has so low boxes, there's only 4 boxes. I feel like it's more likely somebody says, you know what, I could see myself starting a troll army. That's probably close to 1,000 points, and I can always add 1 or 2 things or kit bash or whatever. Get myself a nice 1,000-point troll army just to play around with, just to have fun with. This is a fun. I've always wanted trolls, and I've never bothered buying trolls box. But other than that, I don't think it sells out instantly. And then last is the Outcast Spitegrove. Lots of models in this one. Looks like an army on the table. It's pretty cool, but my goodness, 20 dryads. Now, I will give them credit. There's the correct number of dryads. There's been way too many boxes. Dryads are running squads of 10, and there's been too many boxes that had 14 or 16 or whatever the wrong number of dryads. So at least the number's correct. They got the correct number of sprues. They did something right here with this. But this feels like the B team. You're not getting the big beetle. You're getting the bees lady. You're not getting some of the other newer sculpts. The other guy riding on the beetle. You're getting the tree lord kit again, who's been in every single kit. I have 7 tree lords, 2 Dirthus, a ancient, and then 4 regular tree lords that I kit bashed from the extra bits and did some milliput with. So I can't see wanting this box just for that. I have too many dryads already. I have enough spite revenants already. I got my tree lord already. So the bees lady's not a discount at this point. I have a hard time seeing anybody who collects anything in Sylvaneth wanting this box. And then people outside looking and going, oh, that's a lot of old sculpts. That's a lot of painting the second most interesting models in the line. The 3 or 4 best models are not here, but we got all of the other stuff. I don't know. The one saving grace, I think, is that the spite revenants can be built as the regular tree revenants. So there's some ability there. Tree Lord can be built different ways. Dryads are good, cheap screens. It's playable at least. But I don't see this one as doing as well. I feel like this one's going to get a bit of a bad reputation as just a, hey, they're trying to get rid of the Dryad sprue. I can see this one sitting around on eBay at the longest. And one of the other reasons I say that is because Sylvaneth boxes have sat on eBay for over a year for the last couple Sylvaneth boxes. I've seen Sylvaneth boxes sit for years. I was able to buy their old Start Collecting box over a year after it had been discontinued because Sylvaneth, I love Sylvaneth. I have a pretty big Sylvaneth army, but it does tends to be easy to 3D print, doesn't tend to get the attention that it really probably deserves. But I don't think this one's going to do particularly well. So I don't know if it's a true stinker, but it might be kind of a stinker because I don't think it's what a new player wants or an old player wants. And so I don't know who this box is for. So I'm gonna go ahead and hazard a guess and say this is one of the boxes that hangs around the longest just for that reason. So final thoughts. After these boxes, there will be another cool box. January, they will announce something awesome for next year. If you miss out on the box you want, there will always be another box. Don't let FOMO break your budget. If it's not in your budget, if you've already got a pile of stuff to paint, go ahead and paint what you have. Like don't break your back over it. Like I've got 4 projects lined up for the end of the year. I'm not planning on getting any of these boxes. If I see the Space Marine box somehow at a crazy good discount, I might consider it. I might consider the Voltan box 6 months from now if it's still floating around out there. But otherwise, I'm not touching any of these. I've got enough projects. I'm happy with what I want. There's a handful of kits that I want that I'll put on my Christmas list. I like to put like the cheaper characters on my Christmas list. So if I have a family member who wants to buy me a Warhammer thing, they can. Sometimes my kiddos like to want to pool their money and buy daddy a Warhammer thing because they know I like it. So I'll pick out some kits and then buy it and say it's from them. But I'm not likely going to buy any of these boxes for me. But mostly that's because I'm trying to be content and happy with what I already have, and I think that's an important place to come from. So, in terms of FOMO boxes, if you've been planning one of these armies, this is a great way to save some money. If these are not the kits you want, if it's not the armies you want, don't buy it anyways. You'll just wind up selling it on Facebook Marketplace or Discord or eBay, and then you'll lose money on it, and that's somebody else's win, but it's definitely your loss. And so you don't need to do that to yourself. So talk yourself out of it if you need to talk yourself out of it. But hey, if that's something you really want to build next year and it's a good starter, go for it. It's a lot of fun to open these boxes and see all the kits. All those plastic sprues, it's even more than a starter box. It's a lot of fun. I love me a good a good Battleforce or a good launch box, but it doesn't mean you have to get it. So be responsible with your money. Be responsible with your hobby. Give your gray minis some love, and thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. I make lots of project videos. I like to paint multiple armies. I have a lot of fun doing that, and then posting videos and keeping myself accountable for my big crazy restoration projects and painting projects. And I'm trying to build up a bunch of Warhammer armies for 40K for next year's 11th edition. So that's the next big goal I have right now. And then I've done a bunch of Age of Sigmar stuff too. So I'd love it if you'd subscribe and watch along with me. Thank you so much. And leave in the comments what you think is going to be the best box or the worst box. So love to read your thoughts as well. Thank you all. Bye.